The world's 10 most notorious red light districts, famous for beautiful women yet reduced to a global brothel. Japan only comes in at number 6, and number 1, even the police won't touch it. Red light districts, also known as vice quarters, are a term loaded with ambiguity and controversy, one that has existed within human civilization for hundreds of years. According to publicly available United Nations data, the number of people currently engaged in the sex trade worldwide exceeds 40 million. The industry generates an annual revenue of $1.5 trillion, surpassing the total GDP of most countries on Earth. From hidden corners of bustling cities to self-contained districts of desire, these places are not merely venues for transactional encounters. They are also terrifying proving grounds for the extremes of human nature. Today, join us at Journey Journals as we look at the 10 most notorious red light districts in the world. Tijuana is one of the most dangerous cities on the planet. Yet it also hosts North America's largest red light district, a place some have dubbed Disneyland for men. The nights here do not belong to the stars. They belong to neon lights and countless restless souls. Just a 20-minute drive from San Diego, a pedestrian-packed bridge connects two completely different worlds. The moment you step into Tijuana's red light district, every rule, every restraint, every boundary seems to have been left behind at the border. On the main strip, Avenida Coahuila, a sea of glittering lights mingles with music, laughter, and the buzz of the crowd. Whether it is the heavily guarded gentlemen's clubs or the rows of boldly dressed women working the street corners, everything seems to speak to a single theme: desire. Raw, unfiltered, and explicit. By some estimates, this district is home to over 9,000 sex workers. From licensed establishments to independent street operators, a sprawling and complex ecosystem, they are the lifeblood of the city's shadow economy, forming a unique web known as the stimulation economy. Here, desire drives more than fleeting pleasure. It is the engine that keeps the street markets, hotels, bars, and even the taxi industry running. But Tijuana has never been a simple playground. Beneath the surface, it is a world where violence and chaos define life on the edge. Crime rates rank among the highest globally, with countless gang clashes and murders unfolding in what appears to be a glittering, indulgent neighborhood after dark. Every scream and every roar of an engine on the street could be a sign that a confrontation or a chase has just broken out. Drug deals go down quietly in the back alleys, and addicts and those who've lost control often end up collapsed in the shadows just beyond the bright lights. Even more troubling is the public health situation in this area. Although the city maintains a licensed red light zone, requiring practitioners to be registered and regularly tested, the free agents working the streets mostly operate outside that system entirely. And what follows them are rampant infectious diseases and a host of other hard-to-name health hazards. Research indicates that infection rates in Tijuana's red light district are far above the national average, particularly in areas where unprotected encounters are common, earning them the label of high-risk active zones. Tourists enter with curiosity, but not everyone leaves with their memories intact. Alcohol-impaired judgment, misunderstandings from language barriers, and accidentally crossing into the wrong gang's turf. Sometimes the price of a single drink is a night you would rather forget. The journal World Ethnography has explicitly warned that lingering on Tijuana's streets at night requires extreme vigilance, otherwise you are likely to be robbed, or worse. Tijuana's red light district is both heaven and hell. It puts humanity's most primal desires on full display, while stripping away all civilized pretense at alarming speed. It satisfies those seeking an escape, and swallows whole those who think they can stay in control. Deep in the night in Pyongyang, there is a place that hides in the shadow of the nation's highest echelons, as if it does not exist, yet it controls a forbidden world. It is a name North Korea's government has never officially acknowledged, yet it has long circulated among defectors and intelligence circles: the Pleasure Brigade. The Pleasure Brigade is said to have been founded in 1978 at the personal initiative of Kim Il-sung under Kim Jong-il. The organization grew larger and more institutionalized and was briefly suspended after his death in 2011. However, the system did not disappear with him. In 2015, Kim Jong-un reactivated the program, and the Pleasure Brigade returned, only more secretive and more systematically organized than before. According to accounts from a handful of defectors, the Pleasure Brigade has roughly 2,000 members, most between the ages of 18 and 25. These are not ordinary young women. They are premium selections filtered through multiple layers of screening. Their family backgrounds must be spotless, free of any class blemish. They must be at least 162 centimeters tall, and their looks must meet North Korea's standards of national beauty. Even more strictly, they must claim to have had no prior romantic or sexual experience, and must pass disease screenings, full medical exams, and ideological reviews. The nature of this process is not simply a beauty pageant, it is the construction of a near-sterile private paradise for the regime's elite. Once selected, the women begin undergoing various forms of training. Song, dance, and etiquette are the basics. Some are even sent abroad to China, for example, to learn professional massage techniques. They are then divided into 3 subgroups: the satisfaction group, the happiness group, and the song and dance group. The satisfaction group sits at the core of the system, providing the most discreet yet most direct services. They appear in the private quarters of senior officials, fulfilling state-assigned duties in a manner orchestrated by the regime itself. The happiness group is comparatively mild, focused primarily on physical relaxation and massage, though arrangements beyond the stated scope may sometimes occur. The song and dance group performs at private banquets and official entertainment events, with dancers in revealing attire, sometimes putting on performances of a suggestive nature. The venues where the Pleasure Brigade operates are kept strictly secret. Members never appear in public spaces. They are housed in the capital, Pyongyang, at specially designated high-end reception facilities. The one location that has leaked slightly to the outside world is the Yanggakdo International Hotel, situated on an island in the Taedong River. The hotel's 5th floor is sealed off from guests and is rumored to be where the Pleasure Brigade performs for foreign VIPs. The service life of a Pleasure Brigade member is extremely short. Most are retired around the age of 22 to 25. But this is no ordinary departure. It is concluded through a political arrangement. They are typically married off to senior military officers or celebrated heroes of the state, a move designed to sever all ties to their past and ensure that these secrets never surface. As a reward, they receive a cash payment of approximately $4,000, along with household appliances such as a refrigerator and television. They must also sign a confidentiality agreement. This arrangement, seemingly dignified yet laced with control, reveals the regime's dual attitude toward Pleasure Brigade members. They are both instruments and secrets. Their life trajectory is mapped out from adolescence. Their fate is no longer their own. This street stretches just 1.2 kilometers. By day, it is a lively local market. By night, it transforms into a world that leaves visitors speechless. This is not a setting from a novel. It is the real-world Amsterdam of the East. Take the MTR to Almaty, Mongkok, or Prince Edward, no matter which stop you get off at. You can easily step into Portland Street, one of the world's most densely packed red light districts. Portland Street was officially named on November 25, 1927, after the Duke of Portland of the United Kingdom. Yet this street, with its seemingly respectable name, would undergo a dramatic transformation decades later, becoming the most concentrated symbol of Hong Kong's sex trade. By the 1980s and 90s, the middle stretch, especially the section between Hamilton Street and Argyle Street, was no longer a place for an after-dinner stroll. It had become an adults-only playground where all inhibitions were dropped. At that time, Portland Street was lined with bars, love hotels, saunas, KTV lounges, and massage parlors at every turn. The street was perpetually occupied by hundreds of soliciting women, with clients flowing in and out like the tide. The colloquial term for seeking out a woman here was widely used, and the scene was compared to picking horses at a racetrack. The younger you were, the more sought after. The louder you called out, the faster you got picked. Some media described the scene of women packed together, forming tight circles, as turning the entire street into a human arena, dizzying to the eye. Legally speaking, Hong Kong permits individuals to engage in sex work, but organizing, controlling, or operating a commercial sex establishment is a criminal offense. In 2002, police launched a major anti-vice crackdown, conducting large-scale enforcement under Operation Firecracker, dismantling an illegal syndicate led by Cheng Wai-keung and causing the sex trade industry here to temporarily collapse. but like weeds after the spring rain. In recent years, the active rental rooms in surrounding streets like Shanghai Street, Reclamation Street, and Hamilton Street have quietly drawn sex workers back. Today, Portland Street is still busy by day. Leather shops, herbal medicine stores, print shops, and authentic Hong Kong-style diners line the street. But at night, while less conspicuous than before, telltale signs remain if you look closely. What once played out on the street has largely moved into upstairs establishments. The ground floor facades look ordinary enough, but upstairs, dim lighting, compact rooms, and coded exchanges that communicate everything without a word. Limited resources, persistent demand. The former red light district still operates quietly in the dark. Meanwhile, the government, religious groups, and OKOs have stepped in, offering counseling, legal assistance, and exit support services. How effective these efforts have been, however, remains a matter of debate. The makeup of the community has quietly shifted too. Many workers now come from mainland China, the Philippines, and Thailand. A significant number are single mothers, far from home, working to put their children through school and support their families. A single night's income can reach tens of thousands of Hong Kong dollars, with some individuals earning over $100,000 a month. But behind that lies the shadow of transnational broker fraud, identity coercion, and violent extortion. Hong Kong has also been placed by the United States on the watch list of the Trafficking in Persons report, forcing authorities to intensify identification and intervention, and invest more in specialized training to combat human trafficking. Singapore is renowned worldwide for its strict rule of law and spotless streets, often cited as a model for urban governance. Yet, in this city of gleaming towers, no smoking zones, no drinking areas, where even spitting on the street can earn you a fine. There exists something that seems wildly at odds with the city's obsessively clean image, the Geylang Red-Light District. Geylang sits in the east-central part of Singapore, covering about 10 square kilometers. Its red light activity is concentrated in the even-numbered lorongs, particularly from Lorong 4 through Lorong 20. Over a century ago, a massive influx of Chinese migrant workers created a severe gender imbalance, and the sex trade and underground organizations emerged to fill the gap. Over time, the government adopted a policy of legal but limited management, attempting to contain what could not be suppressed. As a result, Geylang became Singapore's only legal red light district, a place where sex work, drug use, and gambling coexist, yet remain surprisingly orderly. Geylang's regulatory framework is arguably the most Singaporean model of red light district management in the world. All sex work venues must be licensed, and sex workers must hold an official, government-issued yellow card to operate, and are required to undergo regular health checks. The most well-known feature is the fishbowl display. Women standing behind glass panels, under soft lighting with varying expressions, waiting to be chosen by passers-by, much like merchandise displayed in a shop window. All of this is set within bright, clean alleyways, rather than damp, dark corners, creating a strange yet real sense of transparent order. Enforcement is equally airtight. Geylang is designated a no-alcohol zone, with public drinking prohibited during certain hours. The district has more than 500 CCTV cameras and high-intensity streetlights. Officers are stationed on the ground, with rapid response teams on standby. The Geylang Police Division alone deploys up to 160 regular patrol officers, with significantly higher patrol frequencies on weekends. And yet, despite all this pressure, Geylang's night economy has not been extinguished. If anything, it draws curious tourists, eager to experience the world's most controlled zone of desire. Then the pandemic arrived and changed everything overnight. From 2020, bars, KTV lounges, and licensed venues were forced to shut entirely. The neon-drenched scenes of the past vanished from the alleyways in an instant. Even as restrictions eased gradually, many of the former fishbowl operations could not restart, retreating instead into online platforms or fringe locations. The streets fell quiet, replaced by silent windows and shuttered doors. Even so, police presence and surveillance in Geylang did not ease up. If anything, it grew more intense, targeting those still trying to operate. In the gray zones with mobile behavior, Many who once depended on the industry for a living were forced to pivot. Some started street-side barbecue stalls. Others set up badminton nets or tea tables in back alleys. Geylang is gradually transforming from a desire zone into a community experiment. The BBC once described it as the world's cleanest red light district, while CNN and the Oyster Travel website noted that its level of regulation is actually more restrained than Amsterdam's famous red light district. Japan's Kabukicho is the country's largest red light district and Asia's biggest entertainment quarter that never sleeps, spread across 36 hectares just east of Shinjuku Station in Tokyo. It is not only the city's most famous entertainment district, it is a neon-blazing labyrinth of desire that runs all night long. The name Kabukicho traces back to a plan from 1948 to build a kabuki theater here, although the theater was never constructed. The name unexpectedly stuck as the area's identity. After World War II, the swampy land was developed and leveled, evolving from a residential area into a hub for dining and entertainment. By the 1960s and 70s, it had become a gathering place for drifters, avant-garde artists, and marginalized communities, giving birth to a distinctive subculture. In the 1970s, the opening of Club AI launched, the host club culture that Kabukicho is known for, adding an intoxicating new chapter to the city's nightlife. In this city, after dark, there is virtually no form of nightlife you can't find. Over 3,000 establishments are packed into the area, from upscale nightclubs to underground dive bars, from boisterous karaoke halls to dimly lit, ambiguous massage parlors, along with countless love hotels and performance venues. Among the most notable is the host and hostess culture. This form of companion service built around company conversation and the creation of romantic atmosphere has developed into a unique institution in Kabukicho. Male hosts serve female customers. They are handsome, charming, and skilled at reading the room. Female hostesses, on the other hand, excel at using warm smiles and refined social artistry to create a dreamlike experience for male customers. Prices are calculated based on time and drink orders, and a single evening can run into hundreds of thousands of yen. Yet regulars keep coming back for more. Beyond the larger establishments, Kabukicho's Golden Guy offers a very different kind of scene. This cluster of around 200 tiny bars is just a few square meters each. Yet everyone is unique, some themed around literature, film, or rock music, others feeling like intimate, retro living rooms. Even so, this enclave still preserves a certain local exclusivity. Some bars do not welcome foreign tourists and prohibit photography, a reminder that visitors should show respect. Of course, beneath the dazzle, shadows lurk. In the 1990s, Kabukicho was a key stronghold of the Yamaguchi-gumi Yakuza gang. At their peak, over 1,000 members operated here, covertly controlling hundreds of entertainment businesses. From 2004 onward, however, police launched large-scale cleanup operations, using the entertainment businesses' control law and community collaboration to push for area reform, including the installation of extensive surveillance cameras, closure of illegal operations, and strict nighttime enforcement, resulting in a significant improvement in overall safety. Even so, overcharging and scams remain all too common. Price traps are a tourist's nightmare. Well-dressed touts on the street will lure you inside with friendly words. Then, when the bill arrives, you discover hidden drink prices and shocking service fees. There have even been cases of illegal credit card charges. Sometimes drinks are laced with controlled substances, something you will never see coming, especially after 11 p.m. When police patrols thin out and security loosens, the risks should not be underestimated. Despite laws in the United Arab Emirates that explicitly state that anyone involved in the sex trade, whether as buyer or seller, faces heavy fines, imprisonment, and even deportation, these strict provisions have done little to stop the city's underground world from operating. There are no flashy neon signs here. Instead, it all runs through carefully arranged private gatherings via social media. Connections are made through Instagram DMs, encrypted Telegram channels, or anonymous chat apps. This tech-powered new model of the sex trade has built a network that is simultaneously highly insulated and remarkably sophisticated. Many victims believed they were entering legitimate work, modeling, domestic service, or business assistance. only to have their passports seized on their first day in Dubai, forcing them into the system. Women have reported being rotated through different venues to service clients daily. If they refused to cooperate, they faced punishment, even having water and electricity cut off. Human trafficking networks operating through brokers bring women from Eastern Europe, Asia, and Africa into the Gulf states, stripping them of their freedom and dignity step by step. According to the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, multiple victims have sent out calls for help to the outside world, only to be met with indifference or even deportation. Even more extreme are the so-called porta potty parties that have spread widely on social media. Reportedly, some OnlyFans models or foreign influencers are invited for fees ranging from $50,000 to $100,000 to attend elite gatherings on private yachts or in villas in Dubai. But behind these gatherings lies extreme psychological and physical abuse of women. Participants have stated that they were coerced and humiliated at these events, with some cases involving excrement. These practices are not only deeply disturbing, they also expose the raw transactional power dynamic between certain elites and foreign sex workers in Dubai's underground world. The case of Ukrainian model Maria Kovalchuk sent shockwaves internationally. After going missing in Dubai for 10 days, she was found on the side of a road, severely injured and unconscious. Police dismissed it as a fall from a construction site, but her family firmly believed she had been victimized and abandoned by a sex trafficking ring. Over the past decade or more, Dubai authorities have launched multiple crackdowns, yet their efforts have been a drop in the ocean against the scale of the market. Even more alarming is the fact that when female victims try to report the crime themselves, they are often charged with violations of the law themselves and ultimately deported, effectively punished twice, because the root of this problem is not just weak enforcement, it is the systemic gray area built into the law itself. In Dubai, over 85% of the population are expatriates. The large population of single men creates enormous demand, and a culture of drinking, nightlife, and lavish spending keeps it burning. This fuels the continued expansion of the sex trade. Data suggests there are currently more than 25,000 foreign sex workers in the UAE, and Dubai, with its open economy and global profile, has been called by the international press the world's most extravagant underground red light district. In Islamic doctrine, relations between men and women are strictly governed. Extramarital relationships and sexual conduct outside marriage are explicitly forbidden. Chastity and purity are not merely religious symbols. They are the core of social and moral order. Morocco, as an Islamic nation, is expected to uphold these teachings and standards. Yet in Casablanca, there once existed Africa's largest red light district, the Bousbir district. The story begins in 1912, when Morocco became a French protectorate, faced with large numbers of stationed French soldiers and an increasingly active urban society. The French colonial authorities used disease control and maintaining soldier morale as justification to begin institutionalizing the sex trade. In 1924, on the outskirts of Casablanca, a walled and tightly secured zone called Bousbir was established, designed by French architect Edmond Brion. This city within a city not only centralized and managed the sex trade, but was also marketed as an oriental tourist attraction. Bousbir measured approximately 160 by 150 meters. Enclosed by high walls with a single guarded entrance and exit, the interior was a labyrinthine network of passages. This enclosed zone contained 175 residential units, as well as a cinema, saunas, a casino, a cafe, restaurants, a police station, and a medical clinic. There was even a small prison on site. The compound received between 1,000 and 1,500 visitors daily. With a resident population of sex workers ranging from 450 to 680, roughly one-third of the women were not there voluntarily. They had been arrested for illegal street activities and forcibly placed there. Their lives were completely controlled. Mandatory, regular health checks, with movement in and out requiring approval from police and doctors. Many were trapped by debt they could never repay. Forced to remain in Bousbir and keep working, scholar Stasak noted that Bousbir was not merely a sex trade venue, it was an Orientalist theme park, weaving together exotic fantasy, commodified desire, and colonial narrative into one experience. For European visitors, It offered not just sensory gratification, but also the thrill of exotic conquest. In official promotional materials, Bousbir was portrayed as an orderly, safe adventure zone, while the enslaved and oppressed women within were buried behind absurd propaganda. As the 1950s arrived, the world was in upheaval. Morocco's independence movement was gaining momentum, and Bousbir gradually became the focal point of moral and political controversy. In April 1955, under enormous pressure, this city of forbidden desires was officially closed. In 1956, Morocco achieved independence, and the institutionalized sex trade under the colonial system collapsed with it. Since then, Bousbir has been largely erased from official history. The memories became a forbidden topic. In everyday speech, people even use the word Bousbiria as a term of insult, showing that the shadow of this history has yet to fully fade. Asia's most chaotic red light district lies in the heart of Kolkata, India. Sonagachi. It is also the world's largest red light district among impoverished communities. Estimates suggest the area is home to over 16,000 sex workers during peak times. It can simultaneously serve tens of thousands of clients. The name Sonagachi means golden tree in Bengali. Some say it comes from a saint named Sonagazi, while others see the name as carrying a bitter irony. This land is both the golden ground that many depend on for survival and the root of a lifetime of hardship. Sonagachi sits at the intersection of Jatindra Mohan Avenue and Beaton Street. Surrounded by a tangle of narrow alleyways, once you step inside, it feels like entering another world entirely. The district's composition is extraordinarily complex. Workers come not only from Kolkata itself, but from marginalized communities across India's states, as well as large numbers of migrants from Bangladesh, Nepali refugees, and women from impoverished families, some even brought in through human trafficking networks against their will. One source noted that Nepali sex workers alone number in the thousands. Many of them were originally disaster survivors, girls who dropped out of school, or eldest daughters, who after their families fell apart and fate ran out of options, were pushed onto this path with no way back. In 1992, sex workers organized and founded the DMSC, launching a grassroots movement of self-empowerment. This organization not only helped members promote safe practices, keeping infection rates down to around 5%, but also provided retraining, microloans, and counseling for those who wanted to change their lives. In addition, DMSC established several free clinics, offering HIV testing, STI treatment, and psychological counseling, a vital lifeline keeping Sonagachi functioning day to day. Even so, life in this district remains full of danger. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, clients vanished and work all but stopped. Many workers could not afford rent or basic daily expenses, surviving only on masks, food, and cleaning supplies. Provided by DMSC and a handful of charitable organizations, during that period, Sonagachi felt like an island forgotten by the rest of the world. And in the corners beyond the reach of light, human trafficking remained a wound that could not be healed, despite DMSC's ongoing efforts to help coerced young women escape. The reality is that large numbers of girls continue to be lured, controlled, and manipulated. In some parts of the area, extreme superstitious rituals known as purity rites are still being conducted in secret, causing irreversible physical and psychological harm. Technological progress has not brought true liberation. The spread of the internet and smartphones has allowed mobile sex workers to bypass the red light district and book clients directly. But this has also created new problems: no protection, no transparency, and heightened risk of violence. Meanwhile, foot traffic in the traditional district has declined. Parts of the area have begun to decay, and new marginal zones are quietly taking shape in the digital world. Pattaya's walking street stretches about 1 kilometer, running through the center of Pattaya on Thailand's eastern coast. At 6 p.m. every evening it closes to vehicles, and from that moment on, the entire strip is taken over by a blaze of neon, deafening music, and an endless flow of people, from retired Westerners and Asian backpackers to Middle Eastern oil magnates. This has become a go-to destination for tourists from around the world to lose themselves in the night. Some say it is not about relaxation. It is the very definition of indulgence. The night's revelry begins spreading at dusk, Along both sides of the walking street, you will find row after row of bars with their distinct decor, clubs and discos, with dancers in bikinis or less gyrating behind the bar to the beat. Some performing pole dances right at the door, their eyes fixed on every passerby. Inside the sports bars, patrons cheer for their teams, while enjoying table companionship, a perfect blend of football and sensual entertainment. Every few steps there are seafood barbecue stands, pad thai stalls, and fragrant roadside skewers. Even if you came just for a late-night snack, the atmosphere will pull you in. But Walking Street's real claim to fame is not the food. It is the adult entertainment lurking beneath all that color and spectacle. By some estimates, the Strip is home to at least 70 go-go bars, each running its own show. Beyond that, countless massage parlors attract customers under the banner of traditional Thai massage, but offer services that go far beyond a shoulder rub, with over 300 adult entertainment venues in total. The happy ending has become an industry standard, even though Thai law explicitly prohibits it. Here in Pattaya, nobody seems to care much about that piece of paper. According to 2017 statistics, Pattaya City had approximately 27,000 sex workers in total, with a significant portion active in the walking street area. Some media have called this place an adults-only Disneyland, noting that the value for money is jaw-dropping. Some services cost no more than a fast food meal. First-time visitors are often left speechless to see. Men in their late 60s, gray-haired and Western, walking hand-in-hand with young Thai women, their relationship open to interpretation, a partner, or the fulfillment of some short-term arrangement. Of course, Walking Street's wildness comes at a cost. In recent years, Thai authorities have repeatedly announced crackdowns on illegal sex work and efforts to restore order on Walking Street, but with little real result. And this underground economy has inevitably given rise to darker problems. Human trafficking and the infiltration of criminal organizations keep this street permanently lodged in the gray zone. There are those known as love tourists, long-term residents who live with their girlfriends, when in reality they are engaged in what amounts to a long-term rental relationship. Even so, Walking Street never stops drawing the crowds. Over 5 million tourists pour into Pattaya every year, and for most of them, the first stop on a night out is right here. Wallen is not only Amsterdam's most iconic tourist landmark, it is also Europe's oldest red-light district. With a history spanning 700 years, official figures show that Amsterdam's legal sex trade generates between 150 and 300 million euros annually, employing an estimated 1,200 to 3,500 people. Wallen traces its origins to the 14th century, when Amsterdam was in the midst of a trade boom. Along the banks of the old bridge built in 1270 and the surrounding canals, a mixed community of taverns, sailors, merchants, and sex workers gradually took shape. The port naturally brought a flow of people, attracting those seeking brief comfort of all kinds. This made intimate services deeply embedded in the city from its earliest days. Even as the church strongly opposed the Wallen district, married people and clergy were forbidden to go there. The trade continued through discreet channels like inns. The 17th century was Wallen's golden age. Estimates suggest up to 1,000 sex workers were active within its boundaries. By then, the red light had become an industry symbol, a lit lantern signaling that a particular service awaited those who knew to look. Although the authorities banned sex work venues here in 1911, the industry did not disappear. It simply adapted and survived in more discreet forms. Sex workers began standing by their windows, using eye contact, gestures, and lighting to attract potential clients. And so was born the window culture we know today. By the mid-20th century, this practice had become Wallen's defining image. In 2000, the Dutch government officially legalized the sex trade and brought it under commercial regulation. From that point on, sex workers could register as legitimate businesses, pay taxes, hold their own professional identity, and legally rent window spaces as their work premises. Today, Wallen has over 300 window rooms, spread across winding narrow alleyways and quiet canals, forming a unique urban map of the sex industry. Beyond the window sex trade venues, the area is also filled with themed shops, theaters, peep shows, and museums, including one dedicated to the topic itself, a drug museum and coffee shops. But legalization is not the same as utopia. According to the Emergo Project investigation, over 75% of de Wallen's workers are foreign women, mainly from Eastern Europe, Asia, and Africa. A large proportion of them were trafficked here. The lover boy phenomenon is particularly chilling. These emotional manipulators approach young women with sweet words and false affection, lure them into the sex trade, then exploit them long-term through threats and psychological control. Former Amsterdam mayor Lodewijk Asscher openly stated that behind the windows lies modern slavery, noting that many of the women are not there by choice. These ongoing issues have pushed the city government to pursue reform. In response to concerns from residents and workers alike, authorities have restricted tour group routes, stepped up enforcement, and banned photography in front of windows, while also proposing to relocate the sex industry to the outskirts of the city. Supporters argue the new center could offer a safer, more professional environment, but many sex workers worry it would increase social stigma and strip them of their ability to survive in the heart of the city. And that is everything for this episode. Of the 10 most notorious red light districts in the world we have covered today, which one left the biggest impression on you? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Thanks for watching. See you next time.